welcome back. So today I'm going to show you how to roast coffee with the FreshRoast Air Popper style coffee roaster. First, I want to show you my green coffee beans. As you see here, we have this lovely bag of green coffee beans from Heavenly Hawaiian Farms. We picked this up on our last trip to Hawaii. I'm grabbing one of the beans and I have it here in my hand right now. These beans are very similar to what you expect a coffee bean looks like, but much smaller than what a roasted coffee bean is. It is about the shape of a half pea. It's got a tiny little slit in it, and it's very, very smooth. And the smell of these is very green. It's almost a chamomile type smell. I'm going to just put my beans aside for a second here, and now we're going to explore the coffee roaster itself. So the coffee roaster is, like I said, a hot air popper style roaster. It has a round cylinder with a little projection kind of at the lower bottom of the machine with a knob, 3 buttons, and a four-position switch. The knob is for the fan temperature, because this is an adjustable fan machine. Then next to that is time up, time down, and then power, and you can also use this button to switch to cool. I tend to just use my 4-position switch here, and the 4-position switch is at the bottom is cool, low, medium, high. And when you're roasting coffee, you want to really play with the temperatures and determine what temperature makes the flavor you really want. If you want to cook it really quickly, which doesn't make as complex a flavor, you'd put it on high. Or if you wanted to make a very long kind of caramely roast, you'd put it on medium. Low we use to just dry the beans a little bit, because green beans have a little bit of moisture in them, and you want to get that moisture out. So we're going to start the machine on low. So here it is on low. And then on top of the big cylinder is a little beaker style carafe. It has a handle that sticks out of it, plastic handle. And this plastic handle fits. The thing to note is that the bottom of the beaker has holes in it. It's a metal bottom with many, many, many little holes in it, smaller than the beans, but still fairly large beans. I mean, if you put rice in this, it would fall through. So we're putting the beaker on top of the machine, and there's these 2 bumps on either side to line it up with. And you'll see these slots along the top of the machine. Those are to get air into the machine so that it actually has something to blow through the beans. So I'm going to just reach for my measuring cup here. Where did my measuring cup go? One moment, just looking for the measuring cup. Here we go. And I just have a 1/4 measuring cup. It's not precise as I would like it to be, but we're going to just use this 1/4 measuring cup. This machine's maximum limit is 4 ounces. Actually, you can go up to 5, but you're really pushing it when you go up to 5. And about a 1/4 cup is an ounce. So we're just going to put 4 1/4 cups in. Yes, I suppose I could have put a full cup in, but it's easier to pour from the 1/4 cup measure into the very small top carafe. So for the blind viewers, if I put the 1/4 cup measure on top of the carafe, you'll note that it's almost exactly the same size. If I had a larger cup, that would fall into the beans would fall out and past the carafe. So the trick to pouring when you're a blind person is use something that's smaller than the item you're trying to pour into, so that you don't miss your target. So far we have 3. And I'm going to check it. I happen to know that the beans should hit the top of the metal here. So we're about the right. So that's our beans in our little carafe. And then here is the clever part of this machine. This is the top of the coffee roaster, and it comes in two parts. So I'm going to try and describe this to our blind viewers. The device I'm holding in my hand right now looks like a bowl that has a hollow center. Could almost be considered like a bundt pan, except the center post on it has all kinds of little kind of slits in it to let the air out, and in this case specifically to let the chaff. The chaff is the dry kind of remnants of the beans as it roasts. And so it's a bowl with these little slits that throw the chaff into the bowl, and it just fits on the top of the handle. And again, there's a nice little kind of bump that fits directly in a slot on the handle. It's meant to be perfectly aligned with the handle, so the little handle sticking out of the side of the bowl matches up with the handle on the side of the little beaker. And then this piece right here, it's a very flat plate is what it looks like to our blind viewers, with kind of a handle sticking out of it. Have you ever seen those little hors d'oeuvre trays that have kind of like a little grab thing? You can almost think of it as a flat teacup with a handle sticking out of the bottom of the teacup. And it has a whole bunch of little bumpies on it, and those are to hold the screen in place. And what this does is it helps reduce some of the smoke coming out of this machine, because we are causing a lot of smoke. And again, it just goes with the screen side down over top of the little bowl. Everything lines up with slots for the pegs to go into. And voila, we have a coffee roaster assembled. It looks, the best way to describe it is a really fat cylinder with a little control panel sticking out of the bottom. Then when we get up to the beaker, it gets really, really skinny. And then the chaff and filter mechanism sticks out even more. And it's got this nice solid handle on one side, and that sticks out so you can grab the hot parts without burning yourself. So we have our beans in, and we have just over 4 ounces of beans in, and we're going to turn on the machine on to low at first. Now it's a very loud machine, and I'm just going to take a sniff of what the smell of the beans are first. It's a very green, very grassy scent. And I'm using low right now just to dry it. So I'm going to just brush my hand over top a little bit. And really this only needs to happen for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute. I don't want it to go on too long. And for the sighted viewers, I don't know if you can see the countdown timer on here. As a blind person, I ignore that completely. So I just took another whiff, and I think we've gotten some of the moisture out. We're starting to smell a little bit of nut. And now I'm going to crank it up to high. And the fan is on high, and I'm going to turn the fan down a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm listening for the beans moving in the flask. I want them to move, but I don't want them to move too much out of that heat. And I'm going to do something you shouldn't do when you use this machine, but I'm going to do it just to show you all. You see how the beans are moving around in there? They're moving around very nicely. You don't want to do this in case your carafe gets a little too full and your beans go flying around your house. But I just took the lid off to show you all that the beans are moving, and I've got the fan at about medium right now. And I'm going to just add some time because I don't want the machine to run out on me, but I don't care how much I add. And I'm just hitting the button on the far left several times to make sure I maximize my time. And I'll do this a couple of times while we're roasting. So now we just sit back and wait, and what we're doing is we're listening to the sound of the beans. And what we're listening for is a bit of a crack sound, and it is called first crack. And what happens is as the moisture in the beans expand as it gets hotter, the bean eventually cracks to release some of that pressure. And that's the outer husk cracking only. So I don't know if you can hear it, but I doubt very highly you can hear it. But the beans are just slightly moving. They're rattling around in the container. Some coffee roasters are much quieter than this, which makes it easier to hear the first crack. So now I'm just listening to my machine. And unlike the old wives' tale, a watched bean actually does crack. It has to. Just might take longer than you think. So as the beans dry out in the heat, they're getting a little lighter and they're moving faster. So I'm going to turn the fan down just a little more. What my goal is to keep them moving so they don't burn, but to also keep them down in the heat as much as possible so they don't dance so much they never get warmed up. It's really important to keep coffee beans moving. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can hear it, but first crack has just started. I'm going to be quiet so you can hear it. All right, well, hopefully you heard that. So now I'm going to turn the heat down just a little to medium because I want this to be a nice caramely roast. And I'm only going to do that for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm just doing it by smell. I'm literally scenting the air coming out of this roaster. Now, normally I have my fan, my oven hood on, but it's so loud I wanted you all to be able to hear this machine. So hopefully we won't have a smoke detector go off on us because there is quite a bit of smoke that comes out of the machine. Right now it's not smoky, but we're getting a really nice, kind of a toast smell. A little bit more of first crack. And I'm going to keep it on medium until I hear no more cracks coming out of it. Give it some more time because I have no idea how much time is left on the machine. So we're getting a little bit of cracking. You'll notice that the sound of the crack is a big pop, like popcorn, really. There's a couple more. There we go. Now we're getting some aggressive crack. So now all that grassy, nutty smell is gone, and kind of all I'm smelling is actually kind of neutral. I'd say it smells like hot, but that's kind of silly. All right, so we've had it on medium long enough now. I'm going to crank it up to high, and I'm going to start the fan going a little faster because I want these beans to get really, really active in the heat. For our sighted audience, you'll notice the beans are now actually getting darker and more like coffee beans. They're not quite there yet, but they will be very soon. So I'm just taking a sniff and a whiff of it, and we're starting to get that coffee sensation out of it right now. Just starting to. The smell is starting to get a little bit more complex. And now we're about to hit something called second crack. And second crack is when the interior kind of nut of the bean also heats up enough, and the fluid in that pressure pushes the bean to crack, and we're getting that quite aggressively pretty quick here. And that sounds different. It's more like a Rice Krispie sound. So we're getting that, and this is actually the point I like to turn it down to cool, because I don't like it going past second crack, because that makes it more of a dark, bitter flavor, and I like a really good medium roast. So I'm going to turn it down, and I move the switch all the way down to cool, and I'm going to move the fan all the way up to the maximum, because now it's blowing cold air through to chill those beans down as quickly as possible. You want to stop the cooking process as quickly as you can, so that's why it has a chill feature, and the temperature coming out of the top of this is already much, much less than it was before, although the machine itself is very, very hot. And we're just going to wait now for the machine to run down. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes for it to cool. I think it's a 5-minute cool cycle maybe. Much cooler now coming out of the top. Really good roast smell coming out of it. We're lucky we don't have much smoke today. These are a really good coffee bean. This is a high-end Kona coffee bean. Buying it green is really the only way I can afford it. It's a very expensive bean when you buy it roasted, but you can get it for half the price when you buy it green. Very cool now coming out of the top already. It's getting there. You'll see how the beans are moving very quickly for our sighted audience. And you hear the sound of them hitting the glass for our blind viewers. Almost done. And the machine's done. So now I'm going to take the top off, and it's very hot, so let me go grab an oven mitt to show you this. So again, the machine cooled down, but it's still very, very hot. I'm going to flip the little chaff collector upside down here and put it down in front of my machine. And I'm going to take part of it off. and show everybody how much chaff we got here. And I won't know until I put my hands in it. But see, there's an awful lot of, it literally looks like ash to our blind viewers. A lot of ash sitting on that screen we talked about earlier. And sometimes I get beans in the screen, but there's no beans in the screen this time. And I'm going to just take this screen of chaff and I just dump it in my sink. I should probably dump it in the garbage, but I put it in the sink. And then just leave this to the side. You have to be very careful with this machine. The plastic on this machine gets very hot and it's very, very brittle. It's incredibly brittle. It's, I have broken one of the tops for this machine and had to get it replaced. The company was very nice about replacing it. They did it fairly quickly for me. I think it cost me $20 to replace it, so. All right, so now I'm just gonna pick up the little beaker and I have a pie plate right here and I'm gonna pour the beans out into the pie plate. Normally I'd actually run the cool setting one more time to get more chaff out, but I wanted to just show everybody in this video how the beans look now that they're roasted. And they're about twice the size they were, but in that approximate 4 ounces we got, we have found that for 4 ounces, we get about 3.7 ounces, 3.8 ounces of bean. We lose that much weight in heat. So these look pretty good. The texture now is a lot more papery on the outside and a little slippery. For the sighted viewers, people say it looks a little shiny and oily, but that's just the bean itself. So some comments for now for the viewers. This machine does come with a USB controller for a little extra, but I refuse to buy a machine without being able to test the software first to see if it's accessible. So I'm just doing this completely manually with this machine. I do feel very frustrated that this machine only does 4 ounces. It's about a pot and a half of coffee for the two of us. So when we roast, we end up doing 3 to 4 batches just to have enough coffee for a couple of days. There are machines on the market that do larger roasts, but they're somewhat inaccessible. So we are currently looking for one that I can use, and we're hoping to find somebody who has a machine that I can test of the brand we think we're going to buy, because the manufacturer will not sell us that roaster until and let us return it if it doesn't work. So we need to get our hands on that first to see if I can use it before we buy it. But there's your coffee roasting. Enjoy.